realized he made a big boo-boo. He offended Krishna. And that offense to Krishna was going to bring negative feelings from the residents of Dwaraka. It was all political in his consideration. He didn't consider he's offended the personality of God, and he's just like, he's going to have a problem in dealing with the residents of Dwaraka are going to be angry with him for having falsely criticized Krishna. Some idea I'm going to get a karmic reaction, but main thing was the politics. So he decided, supersoul, the Bhagavatam says, Krishna from within prompted him to decide in a formal way to present back to Krishna the jewel and his daughter in marriage. Satyabhama was the very qualified daughter of Satrajit. And sometimes it happens, qualified daughters come from bad parents, and bad parents, good parents have unqualified children. It happens. This was one of those. So Krishna said to Satrajit, I'll accept your jewel-like daughter, Satyabhama, but you keep the jewel. It's okay. Because he knew that Satrajit didn't want, with love, to give the jewel. So you keep the jewel. And that's how chapter 57 ends. But so before we go into chapter 58, I'm going to require your special attention. Because Rupa Goswami, some of you don't know who is Rupa Goswami because you're newer people. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya, who gave us the congregational chanting of the holy name, we mentioned this before, he had principal associates. We spoke about Sanatana Goswami during the initiation lecture. Lord Chaitanya had instructed Sanatana Goswami on the principles of devotion and told him to write a book on how to perform the activities of devotion. That was Sanatana Goswami. Another one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan was Rupa Goswami. He was also instructed elaborately by Lord Chaitanya in the science of bhakti, rasa, the mellows of loving devotion, and instructed him to write books that expanded those teachings, which he did. And his book is one of our core literatures to teach about bhakti. Those of you that will one day, if you haven't already done so, take Bhakti Shastri. It's one of the 4 books, Nectar Devotion. Rupa Goswami is its author. But Rupa Goswami wrote other books. Rupa Goswami wrote a drama. In fact, he wrote 2 dramas. He was so elevated. Rupa Goswami was so elevated. He could experience Krishna's pastimes in his heart. Yeah, whoa. He was in Vrindavan, Rupa Goswami, and he wanted to go visit Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was in Jagannath Puri. And for those of you that don't know your geography of India, that's a long journey. So here's India. Over here is Vrindavan. Way down here is Jagannath Puri. It took months walking to get to Jagannath Puri. So in his mind, he didn't have, a digital computer or anything like that. He just composed things spontaneously within his mind and was able to remember them because he had that He didn't need a hard drive and a backup. He just had that kind of capacity. So he was in his mind composing a drama about Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. Just before he reached Puri and his journey, he passed through a city, or a village rather, of the name Satyabhama Pur. Very nice name. At night he had a dream, and in his dream, Satyabhama, we just heard about Satyabhama. Satyabhama appeared in his dream and told him, make this into 2 dramas. One about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, one of Krishna's pastimes outside of Vrindavan. Many of our acharyas following that did the same. So he did that. Vidagdha Madhava and Lalita Madhava. In Vrindavan, outside Vrindavan. So in the outside of Vrindavan Leela, or drama, Rupa Goswami describes, listen carefully, this is like, higher level, kind of esoteric teaching, but the relationship of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan connect with Krishna's pastimes in Dwaraka in the following way. The residents of Vrindavan, particularly the Gopis, had so much attachment for Krishna that Krishna arranged for them to become, or expansions of them, to become his queens. What? Lalita Madhava. So I'm going to describe, when we get to Jambavati's cave, I'm pointing, I guess, in the direction that we're going to be going in, to get to Jambavati's cave, we'll describe this Lalita Madhava, and there's other scriptures, Padyavali, collection of verses by Rupa Goswami, and other writings that will describe what I just said. So the principle is this. It's very simple. Krishna is unlimited, and Krishna can expand himself unlimited, just like one of the Brahma Samhita verses. From one candle, you can light so many candles, each of those candles having equal potency, but one of them remains the original, and Krishna is the original. Brahma Samhita. So Krishna can expand, and as Krishna expands, well, his potency, Radha, she also can expand. That's what we heard about Rukmini. Rukmini is in Radha's expansion, as Krishna in Dwaraka is Krishna in Vrindavan's expansion. Yes? That's easy. Now, Radha expands as Gopis in Vrindavan, and the Gopis in Vrindavan can expand. Well, it doesn't say the technology of how they do it, but they can do it for the purpose of assisting in Krishna's pastimes. That's all. So Krishna is going to perform pastimes in Dwaraka. In Vrindavan, he has expansions of Radha, according to Brahma Samhita, explicitly. The Gopis are expansions of Radha. Let's say the same thing in different language. Radha has a certain number of qualities. Each of the Gopis, who are expansions of Radha, represent some portion of Radha's qualities. Other portion of Radha's qualities. Some other portion of Radha's qualities. It's just Radha's qualities being embodied by the Gopis. And then Krishna enjoys as he enjoys with his internal potency. It's not another lady, it's his internal potency. It's very different. Night and day difference. This is the night, and that's the day. So Krishna is enjoying with himself. or his potency. And the expansions of his potencies are the gopis. Those potencies can expand themselves, and they do, according to Rupa Goswami. And there's a whole drama describing how that happens. It's mind-boggling. That's why I ask you to be very attentive. It stretches the mind beyond the mind stretching is ready to snap. But Rupa Goswami isn't interested in, silly stories. He's interested in Krishna Tattva. And he's describing how the 16,108 queens are expansions of the gopis. And it starts with Rukmini. We'll hear the detail. I'm just doing a little outline because we're touching on the first of them, Satyabhama. Satyabhama is Radharani, and Rukmini is Chandravali. Some of you have heard. There's right-wing gopis and left-wing gopis, even in the spiritual world. The liberals and the conservatives. Then there's some moderates in the middle. It's as above, so below. So Radharani and Lalita and Vishaka and her left-wing gopis, they say contradictory things to Krishna. They talk back to Krishna. They say things that churn exchanges that are for his love and his pleasure only. They're not sassy talk back kind of personalities. They're loving personalities that do things inspired by the happiness of Krishna. And then there's the right-wing gopis that never say anything back. That's Rukmini. We're going to hear in detail. In detail. Krishna wants to push Rukmini into that position where she'll say something back. She doesn't. She faints. Because she never go against Krishna. She defeats Krishna by her response when she comes back to external consciousness. And Krishna wanted to hear that. It was a Leela. So according to Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava, the gopis become queens. Expansions of the gopis become queens. It's a mystery. I mean, if you think anything else is a mystery, that's like, whoa. It's a mystery. But Rupa Goswami. So, in this drama of Rupa Goswami, the first description of marriage is also Rukmini. And before Krishna marries Rukmini, the king Bhishmaka extracts a promise from Krishna. What's that? Without Rukmini's permission, you won't marry another queen. Krishna gives his promise to the king. Meanwhile, there are these other situations that arise. One of them is Satyabhama, and another is Jambavati. So there's the three. And then comes Kalindi, number 4. And these are Chandravali, Radha, and Lalita and Vishaka. They're expansions. It's a deep mystery. Hang on. So we'll hear it again. get a chance to let it, I don't know, sink in a little bit. What's he saying? We'll hear the detail of it towards the very end of our yatra, and you're all feeling fresh and like you're ready for anything. Okay, so mystery of Krishna, right? So this little passage is Krishna is with Satyabhama in that part of Dwaraka that was created by, who created Dwaraka? Vishvakarma? So in addition to creating Dwaraka, he created Nava Vrindavan. Because, it's Goloka, and there's Dwaraka, but you got to have Vrindavan. So he creates Nava Vrindavan, and it looks just like Vrindavan. Looks just like Vrindavan. He's Vishwakarma, he can do it. Looks just like Vrindavan. It's a long narration, but Krishna comes to understand that Satyabhama is Radha. It's a long narration, we'll hear it. And he's now disclosing to Satyabhama about Lalita and Vishaka. Because Lalita and Vishaka are dearmost associates of Radha. They're dearly loved by Radha, and they dearly love Radha. It's the nature of love, transcendental love. We'll hear the description of how it happened, but they became separated. They became separated by Radha's separation from Krishna. We'll hear about it. Now Krishna is with Satyabhama in this Nava Vrindavan, created by Vishwakarma. And events happen, very interesting events happen, by which Krishna realizes Satyabhama is actually Radha's expansion. We can say Radha, or Radha's expansion. And then Satyabhama is asking, where's Lalita? You must know, where's Lalita and where's Vishaka? Then Krishna starts to describe to Satyabhama, who is Radha, or Radha's expansion, about where Lalita is. Listen carefully. He starts describing Jambavan and entering the cave of Jambavan to get the Syamantaka jewel and the battle with Jambavan for 28 days. Same narration. And Jambavan realizes that's Krishna. Krishna relieves his pain by touching him. Krishna requests the Syamantaka jewel. According to what Krishna tells Satyabhama, Jambavan looked very perturbed. He retired as if to go get the Syamantaka jewel for Krishna. And the nurse came and said, Jambavan's in a big dilemma. Krishna says to the nurse, why is that? Because if he gives the jewel to you, Jambavati will give up her life. Why is that? Why is Jambavan attached to a jewel, or why is Jambavati, for that matter, attached to a jewel? The nurse says, I don't know. But it's just something like that. So Krishna becomes very curious and says, tell me something more about this girl, Jambavati. How does she keep herself? She says she takes the Syamantaka jewel and holds it to her heart and cries piteously. Krishna says, why is she attached to a jewel? I don't know why she's attached to a jewel. Tell me something more about her. Well, she has this deity of Madhava, and by the way, that Madhava deity looks just like you. And then by the side of Madhava, there's this other somebody, and I don't know who that somebody is. And Krishna says, can you take me to see this Madhava and the somebody? And he sees the deity of Madhava and the somebody is Radha, and Jambavati is Lalita, who is worshipping Radha Krishna. She's the beloved of Radha, and she simply desires to have the relationship of Radha meeting Krishna, because that's what Radha wants, and she's the servant of Radha. So the nurse says, all day long, she's making offerings and singing songs and dressing and making ornaments, and lovingly she's worshiping these forms of Madhava and whoever that other person is. And she's very attached to this jewel. And Satyabhama says, oh, I know what that Syamantaka jewel is. Back in Vrindavan, when Krishna killed, what's his name? Shankachuda. Shankachuda tried to take the gopis away from rasa dance with Krishna and enjoy with them. Krishna chased him. He caught Shankachuda, smashed him, and from his bloodied turban he took the jewel that was on his turban that made him proud, and he gave the jewel to Radha. Radha loved that jewel. The Syamantaka jewel is that jewel. That's why Lalita is so attached to the jewel, because it reminds her of Radha and Krishna. Rupa Goswami. So Krishna says to the maid that, so Satyabhama is saying, who's this Jambavati anyways? Who is this? It's suspense thriller. And so he said, well, hold on, I'm gonna get there. Let me tell the story. And so I tell the maid, tell Jambavati that Madhava over there in the deity form, he's seated on the throne of Jambavan. He just like expanded himself from the deity, and there he is over there on the throne. So Jambavati, trusting the maid, came before Krishna, seated on Jambavan's throne, and her face lit up with great joy and began crying and fell to the ground, paying her obeisances before Krishna. Satyabhama, who's Radha, says, there's Lalita. Where can I find her? Tell me quick. I'm feeling such separation from Lalita. And Krishna said, let me finish the story. I gave a promise to Bhishmaka, the father of Rukmini, that I would not marry others without Rukmini's giving permission. So I couldn't right away bring Jambavati, although the Bhagavatam describes they came back married. I discussed this with Shivaram Maharaj to understand what about this and that, and there's different ways of looking between the narration of Bhagavatam. Rupa Goswami isn't going to violate Srimad Bhagavatam, no way. So one perspective is there's kind of a general broad description, and then there's details that Rupa Goswami is filling in the details. It's one explanation. Didn't say how long after. Anyway, the Jambavati was married to Krishna. It does say they were married in the cave. In any case, it wasn't a formal marriage, just garland exchange, etc. So Krishna says, because of that promise, I placed Jambavati in a cave at the Raivata mountain with others to tend to her needs, And as soon as I get permission from Rukmini, which I haven't asked yet, then I can marry Jambavati too. To be continued. When we get to Jambavan's cave, we'll give you the more complete story. You'll hear some of this again, and some of the puzzle pieces will start to fit together. I warned you. The mystery of Krishna is very deep. But in one sense, aside from, chronologically, how did all of this fit together with the other thing? Spiritually speaking, it makes complete sense. Krishna expands as Dwarkadish, and Radha expands in her various features because she's the assistant of Krishna. And the Gopis expand because they're assisting Radha in serving Krishna. So Krishna comes to Dwaraka, so they become queens of Dwaraka and assist Krishna in his loving exchange in a different Aishvarya mood or opulent mood. How's that? Pretty mind-bending, huh? Well, don't try to understand it with your mind. That's a mistake. You college students that like to figure things out that way. It doesn't compute. It's not falsifiable, but how does it work? What's the technology of all of this? It's rasa. It gets more interesting as we continue. But hang around and we'll see. Because a place that we're going to go, that's one of the places of pilgrimage in the Dwaraka area where the Gopis come and perform rasa dance. The Gopis of Vrindavan, or expansions of them, come and perform rasa dance with Krishna. There's a place, Gopi Talav. Very interesting. Krishna is rasa. Rasa vai saha, according to the Shruti mantras. Krishna is rasa, and he expands rasa. And he reciprocates rasa with his loving devotees. That's Krishna. That's who he is. We just have to repose our hankering for love with him. Instead, we're placing our hankering for love elsewhere, and we find something other than the happiness we were looking for. It doesn't mean we become impersonalists and we don't care about other people. But when we care about other people, that caring about other people should be with Krishna at the center. That's proper. That's rasa. And then we perform our duties in a responsible manner with the goal of becoming attached to Krishna together. That's what family life is. That's what congregations are. That's what our social well-being is. That's the life of Krishna consciousness. We don't ignore dharma or worldly dharma, religious principles, good conduct. We don't ignore that. But the purpose of those things is one thing. Connecting with Krishna, pleasing Krishna. We do those things for that purpose. When we do things for that purpose, that's bhakti. And if we cultivate bhakti, then we'll go to Krishna, because our minds have become attached to Krishna. We'll go to Krishna. Is that all right? So the narration will continue, but the goal is to become attached to Krishna. That's the goal. And to understand truths about Krishna that are beyond our capacity to calculate, given to us by the kindness of Vyasadeva and Shukadev Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and our great acharyas. I just share this with you. From Brahma Samhita, there's a stage of chanting, like we all do chanting, Hare Krishna mantra. There's a stage of chanting where It's called Swarasaki, where you enter into the pastimes of Krishna. You not only see Krishna, you see his form, you see his pastimes, and you can enter into his pastimes. That's called Swarasaki. Jiva Goswami in his commentary says, even today, there are individuals who have attained that stage. Rupa Goswami is one of them. He's not writing mythology or creative literature. He's revealing his realizations in his Swarasaki stage. I'll tell another little description. This is from Vrindavan. How many of you have been to Vrindavan? Almost everybody. So one of the places you go when you visit Vrindavan, almost always, is Govardhan Hill. Yes, Govardhan Hill. And when you go to Govardhan Hill, one of the places that you pass as you circulate Govardhan Hill is Radhakund Shamakund. On the bank of Radhakund Shamakund is a place where Sanatan Goswami had his bhajan kutir, his little temple where he was performing his devotional activity. There's more than one, but one of them was a little temple with Madan Mohan deities. Rupa Goswami would come to him on a regular basis and show his writings to his elder brother Sanatan Goswami to verify, did he approve? You're my elder brother, my spiritual master, Shiksha Guru. Do you approve this writing? So one of the passages he wrote was describing Radha and the Gopis enjoying pastimes together, and he described the braid of Radharani as being like a snake down her back. Sanatan Goswami wrinkled his face. That doesn't sound right. Snake down her back, the braid. But he didn't say anything. He just thought that. Then he went to do his midday duties, and he saw some girls on the other side of the kund, and they were playing together, and as they were playing together, one of them turned, and he saw a snake climbing up her back, and he called, "It's a snake, it's a snake, look out." It was Radha, and she turned and smiled, and then all the gopis disappeared. The next day, Rupa Goswami said, what did you think about the writing? He said, "Oh, it was very good. I especially liked the part about the snake." They were on another level of Krishna consciousness. There's other examples. But they were able to enter into the pastimes of Krishna. Here's another one. This is from Gaudiya Vaishnava literature describing Rupa Goswami one time was chanting, as we chant, but on another platform than our chanting, and he was experiencing, he was within pastimes of Krishna while he's chanting. Because it goes in sequence: Nama, the name; Rupa, the form; Guna, qualities; Leela, and then entering into the Leela. So he was participating in Radha and Krishna Leela while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. He wasn't distracted like we are. And the Leela that he was participating in, Radha said something funny, and Krishna said something funny in relation to what Radha had said that was funny, and Rupa Goswami laughed because he's participating in the pastime. As he was laughing, a very old sadhu passed by. who was lame and was hobbling and walking awkwardly. And the old sadhu thought, Rupa Goswami's laughing at me. This isn't nice. His mind was disturbed. So he went to Sanatana Goswami and disclosed this to him. This is what you do when you get disturbed. You go to Sanatana Goswami. You go to a senior Vaishnava and say, my heart is disturbed. And Sanatana Goswami said, what happened? He described what happened. I'm an old, lame person. And I was passing by your brother, and he laughed at me. And how can Rupa Goswami laugh at an old sage? I'm just old. I can't walk properly. Sanatana Goswami said, I'll examine the situation, let you know. Later, Rupa Goswami came to speak with Sanatana Goswami and said, something very unusual happened. I was chanting. There was a pastime of Radha and Krishna that was being enacted in my heart. I was participating in the pastime. Radha said something humorous. Krishna said something humorous. I laughed and my meditation broke. And I tried again and again to get back into that meditation and couldn't enter into the meditation. Could you explain? Sanatana Goswami put two and two together and said, because when you were laughing, there was a Brahmana passing by and he thought you were laughing at him. And because he thought that you had offended him, that blocked your meditation. So what you should do is you go to find that Brahmin, explain to him what happened, and request his forgiveness. So Rupa Goswami did like that. When he went to the Brahmin and told him what happened, the Brahmana was so ashamed. How could I think that you, Rupa Goswami, could laugh at an old man? I am the one who's the offender, and everything was nice. But the point, many points, but one of the points is, Rupa Goswami's quality of chanting was swarasaki. He was able to enter into Krishna's pastimes. And then he wrote literatures describing Krishna's pastimes based upon, and other of the Goswamis, without going further on this. Raghunath Das Goswami similarly had such capacity. They're not imaginative fiction. They're pastimes of Krishna, realized by them, and sharing them with us, because Krishna's pastimes are eternal. We can't access them because we don't have the qualification, but some have that qualification, and Rupa Goswami is one of them, and it's a deep mystery for sure. But the message we're hearing from Rupa Goswami is, the queens are expansions, or they are the Gopis, expansions of the Gopis, to assist Krishna in his loving dealings here in Dwaraka. Jambavati being one of them, who Krishna married, wife number 2. And then Satyabhama, wife number 3. So I have another half an hour. It's okay if I keep going? Offense results in suffering. Satrajit had offended Krishna, and the devotees of Krishna didn't like it. 2 of them, Kritavarma and Akrura, particularly didn't like it. They started talking with one another. We don't like it. And there were 2 other elements. They wanted that the Syamantaka jewel go to Krishna, not to Satrajit. And, worst of all, they conspired not only to get the jewel from Satrajit, but mixed in there was he should be punished. So they consulted a hitman. You have that idea in China? Someone that carries out your dirty work for you. Satadhanva, he was like a criminal guy, like a mobster. They had a little discussion with Satadhanva, get the jewel. And then they even said, as Prasena, who died, as Prasena met the consequence of pride, why shouldn't Satrajit meet a similar consequence? They didn't say kill him, but they were saying kill him. So it was a murder conspiracy that Akrura was involved with. Now Akrura's up there. But Akrura had offended the Gopis by taking Krishna from Dwaraka. So the Gopis, this is our Acharyas explaining, the Gopis had uttered this curse, Akrura, as we have to experience separation from Krishna, so will you. It's only just. So this is a pastime of separation from Krishna that has some ugly parts, including payment going to Satrajit for his offense to Krishna, which was Satadhanva had also been promised by Satrajit the hand of Satyabhama in a marriage. In fact, he promised a whole bunch of people, and then went back on his promise to those whole bunch of people and had Satyabhama marry Krishna out of political expediency to save his back. Don't become a politician. It's too complicated and really ugly, and just be straightforward devotees. But Satrajit wasn't like that. So Satadhanva got all fired up to go get the jewel. He came in the middle of the night. He was observed by others in the palace, so they knew who the murderer was, and he took the jewel from Satrajit and slaughtered Satrajit. And took the jewel and left. In the morning, the daughter, Satyabhama, went to see her father and saw him dead. She screamed. Now, this happened at a time when Krishna was out of Dwaraka. Why was Krishna out of Dwaraka? Because simultaneously in Hastinapur, there was this bad news that the Pandavas and Kunti died. They didn't die, but the news was that they had died in a fire, the house of Lak. So Krishna and Balaram left Dwaraka to go attend the funeral of Kunti and the Pandavas, who they knew they hadn't died, but they mourned like everybody else did, as if they didn't know that they weren't dead. So while Krishna's away, the mice were playing. Satadhanva did his dirty deed. Satyabhama's father was killed. Satyabhama was besides very disturbed, very intelligent. She put the body of her father in oil so it would be preserved so Krishna could come back and perform the funeral. She went all the way to Hastinapur, told Krishna the bad news, and Krishna cried. Or at least apparently cried. The commentator said he didn't really cry. And he came back at once to Dwaraka and made a plan, which then became known by Satadhanva, to murder Satadhanva, to give death penalty to Satadhanva. Satadhanva panicked. He went to Kritavarma, he went to Akrura, help. They both said, he's the personality of Godhead. We wanted the jewel, but we didn't want we didn't want to go against Krishna. So if you want to go against Krishna, you're on your own, basically. So Satadhanva left the jewel in the care of Akrura, meaning he thought it was his because he stole the jewel, but you can hold on to it for me. I'm going to run. He got on a horse that could travel 800 miles, 100 yojanas. Krishna understood that he left. Krishna chased him. with Balaram. When the horse couldn't go any further, he got off and was running. Krishna got off his chariot, started running after Satadhanva, and with his Sudarshan chakra, he decapitated him. Searched through his clothing for the jewel wasn't there. Balaram said, well, we've gone this far, to the area of Hastinapur. Let me go a little further. There's a king of Mithila who is a very dear friend of our dynasty. It's the same place where Janaka, King Janak, presided as king. I'd like to go there and spend some time. He spent several years with the king of Mithila. And it was during that period of time that Balaram taught Duryodhana the art of fighting with a club. Krishna went back to Dwaraka. Akrura panicked. He's an accomplice to a murder of Krishna's father. So he took the Syamantaka jewel and he left Dwaraka. He went to the place where his father lived and where he was born in Varanasi. In the absence of Akrura, very interesting, natural disturbances started to happen. And then another rumor started. Oh, Krishna is the cause of these natural disturbances. He didn't say because of his internal potency, which was the real reason, but because he has enmity towards Akrura, and Akrura has this reputation of bringing normality to weather and other circumstances of life. Now we're having irregularity. Another rumor about Krishna. It wasn't even one only, it was another one. It was, not nice. Shukadeva Goswami explains how did that happen. The father of Akrura, who was named Shwapalka, it was advised by an astrologer that the king of Varanasi marry his daughter to Shwapalka, and by so doing, there was drought, and the drought would end, and there would be rain. And sure enough, they were married, and there was rain. So it became the reputation that where Shwapalka is, natural disturbances don't happen. And Akrura carried the same reputation as his father, Shwapalka. So when Akrura was no longer in Dwaraka, and Akrura was outside of Dwaraka for the same duration that Balaram was in Mithila, several years. Meanwhile, so he's over there in Varanasi, accumulating 70 pounds of gold every day, giving in charity and building a golden this and that. He had a reputation, a golden reputation. Krishna sent a messenger. Please invite Akrura to come see me. This is a few years after the murder happened. And Akrura is a devotee of Krishna, but his separation, curse from the Gopis, happened. And Krishna didn't say, I know you did it. You killed my father-in-law. He didn't even bring it up for some reason. He just said, Balaram doesn't believe me that the reason the disturbances are happening in Dwaraka is because the Syamantaka jewel is where you are. Can you just show in a public assembly that you have the Syamantaka jewel that brings this normality? And then you can just stay here, please, in Dwaraka. Akrura panicked. His hand was in the cookie jar. There's this expression in America. You have that expression? Reach in and take cookies and someone catches, hey, your hand's in the cookie jar. Anyway, he realized that Krishna was in full knowledge of everything, of his misdeed. conspiracy to get the jewel from Satrajit and so forth. Krishna knew everything. He reached in his clothing and gave him the jewel, glowing as brilliant as the sun. Krishna said, touched it to his forehead, said, "You keep it. I just want you to show it in a public assembly. So everybody knows this was the reason that there was disturbance in Dwaraka, not that there's enmity between you and me, and I chased you away." So that ends chapter 57. Chapter 58 is Krishna is approached by Indra. Krishna is approached by Indra. Indra's got a problem. What's that? Bhaumasura attacked, powerful king, attacked the heavenly planets, and he took Aditi's earrings. Aditi is the mother of the demigods, including Indra. He took her valuable earrings. On the throne of Varuna, he took the umbrella, valuable throne of Varuna. He's taken over part of he's too powerful. Help. Rama to come with him. And kingdom. His kingdom is called Prajotishapura, according to the just like Rupa Goswami composed these two dramas, Krishna's. So it's Uddhava speaking about Krishna's pastimes out of Vrindavan, and he speaks about Bhaumasura. Bhauma means earth. So the son of Mother Earth, who is known as Bhauma. So he was a nice boy, according to Uddhava, until he got into good children can become corrupted by bad association. And it even happened to the son of Krishna and Mother Earth, but he was very powerful because he's the son of Krishna and Mother Earth. His association, Dvidvida, who was message, beware of bad association. Or, stayed put, refer to this verse again and again. Sangat sanjayate, kama. Sanjaya, the obvious principle of life, we should be careful with those whom we intimately discerning. Be friendly to everybody. Be discerning with whom you very closely associate. And both were killed by Krishna, then Balaram. The killer of Mura demon, Murari. Ari means the killer of, was really good. He had 5 different layers of stuff to protect his city. Water, electric fence, electrocute people that got past the water. Then he had this gas of barbed wire, and it was all designed by Mura. So Krishna came on the back of Garuda, roaring out of his 5 mouths, really, really loud. Into Krishna, he smashed the weapons, he was having fun. And then he sent his Sudarshan chakra and cut off the 5. They all attacked Krishna and he defeated them all. News of that went to Bhaumasura. Bhaumasura came charging umbrella on the throne of Varuna. But there was another purpose. So, big battle, Mother Earth personified, came before Krishna with the son of her son by this whole circumstance. Please forgive him for his sins. For his sins, the grandson, please bless him. So Krishna turned to the Bhagadatta and said, who now were relieved from captivity by Bhaumasura Satyabhama. And Krishna said, you can go home now back to your father. No one is going to marry us. But you're the savior of the fallen. Please marry us. Into 16,100 Krishnas, built palaces for each one of them. These are pastimes. Then meanwhile, Krishna now has Aditi is really impressed. She speaks with Satyabhama and her sons, that some of the demigods reside. And Narada also one time visited the heavenly planets. He saw this Parijata tree. Satyabhama saw the flower and said to Krishna, can you get me one of those? To you, or give to you, a tree filled with Parijata flowers. So it wasn't exactly a promise, but Satyabhama, Aditi's earrings and the umbrella. And also, to get. And Krishna's on his way back, and the commentator said it was an old lady. She yanked up a Parijata tree and put it on the back of Garuda, and off they go. You didn't offer anything for this service of bringing back Aditi's earrings and the planets. But Krishna said, I'm taking the tree. There was a fight. These descriptions tell us what happens when you're not attached to Krishna, or you're attached to wealth, or you're attached to something or a bunch of somethings. Great devotee. Indra's a nice devotee. They can't properly see when there's attachment. Exclusively attached to Krishna. That's what to do. And you keep doing that with sincerity, appreciating the Brahmana that came as the messenger from Rukmini, that he was pure. Understand why we should be attached to Krishna, understand his divine and transcendental and mysterious nature, all of us. We just need to access from our heart the loving nature of Krishna. Material aspect, like Kunti prays, the material aspect of my attachments. So that just the spirit pray like that and Krishna starts taking those things away, don't complain. Wait a minute, that's my favorite attachment. The boat of Krishna Bhakti. And that boat of Krishna Bhakti is going to take us to Krishna Prema. We're just being guided by Rupa Goswami and other teachings to tell us how to do that. They want to be with Krishna. Associate with those devotees. Fill your heart with appreciation for the all-attractiveness of the all-attractive. Just remember him. Just become attached to him. Krishna will protect you. And the depth of the ocean is filled with rasa. Dive into that ocean. It starts with the hearing. I was noticing during two of the kirtans, there were thinking about whose name it is that we're singing and so forth. There's so much potency in what we're doing by the agency of our great acharyas and this wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam, this wonderful activities in Dwaraka. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki.
Hare Krishna. One important announcement continued in room number 102 between 7:30 and 8:30 this evening.